President Trump took a swipe at rival Ron DeSantis on the campaign trail in an attempt to wrangle voters against his top challenger for the GOP presidential nomination. Here's a clip from his speech in Las Vegas. Let's watch.
So I'm not a big fan of his, and he's highly overrated. He's highly overrated. Remember, he's the one that wanted to cut Social Security. He's the one that wanted to raise the minimum age, and he voted on this. This isn't just... And the one thing you have to remember, when a politician comes out with an initial plan, and then they go into a corner because they're getting killed, because he's getting killed. He's like, his thing is going, well, he also has no personality. That helps, right? As a politician, you have to have personality. You saw where he wants to change his name. It's DeSantis. He wants to call it DeSantis, but you don't do it in the middle of a campaign.
But DeSantis may not be a threat to Trump after all. According to a Wall Street Journal report, support for the Florida governor has stagnated, and as of July 5th, 538 polling shows DeSantis' appeal among voters seems to have gone down since January of this year from the upper 30s down to 23% a week ago. All right, so it's bad news bears for Ron DeSantis. There was a big political piece that came out about a week ago called "We Are Way Behind." A top DeSantis PAC official sounds the alarm. He's been asked about this on the cable news circuit, and his affect, as many people have noted, feels weird and giggly and fake, and like he's perhaps not really wrestling with what's going on here, or he's not helping his cause. And in the clip like that you see from Donald Trump, like it or not, substantively, the guy, as the kids say, has riz. Like, he has that ability to connect with an audience. Even when you hate what he's saying, he's making you laugh. He is a performer first, and in some ways, because of who Trump is, it's really highlighting DeSantis's specific deficits in a way that is really hurting his campaign.
Sure, I don't quite know what... DeSantis can't fix the fact that Trump is a far more charismatic and entertaining figure, and he's never going to beat Trump on those grounds, so we can't even try. What DeSantis has to try to do, this is the lane left to him, is to be someone whose policy views are better liked, if not by the country, by the conservative activists in primaries.
Well, let's talk about policy, because that was a policy-filled clip from Donald Trump as well. He said that Ron DeSantis was trying to cut Social Security. Ron DeSantis was trying to wage the retirement age. And while Republicans historically have taken the L on those issues and kind of supported them,
they've run away from them because of Trump.
Of late, yes. Trump has tapped into the reality that even conservatives love those social policies. As I talk about ad nauseum, 60% of Floridians in the 2020 election, where they voted for Donald Trump, also supported a $15 minimum wage. People are struggling. Working class and poor people have seen have been hit by inflation hard and seen their wages not keep up, and they need help. So Ron DeSantis is banking on the idea that his crusade on wokeness is going to be people's political priority.
Wokeness and COVID.
But I think there's a ceiling for that. Well, we're seeing it.
We're going to see, right. We have to see if that works. And also, the fact that it is turning out that everyone and their neighbor and brother are going to enter the Republican primary. It's not going to be, it's not going to be a clean fight. And it's smaller numbers, but every person who chips off 1 percentage point, it just steals a little bit of the thunder of the media attention. If it's only Trump, if it's only DeSantis up against Trump, I would have given him much better odds. Now that there's so many other people, it divides up the media attention, it divides up the spotlight, and it's working against him. Also working against him is these weird... Can we put up this flyer I spotted on social media? This is a flyer that says, "Thank you, President Trump, for your reaction, for your standing up for LGBTQ rights, spotlighting that Trump let a transgender person compete in his Miss whatever it is pageant."
Yeah, Miss Universe, I think.
Et cetera. This is getting mailed to Republican voters in Iowa. So this is not, Trump did not send this to these people.
No. This is something, a hit piece.
Probably, I don't know for sure. I would guess that DeSantis people are sending to remind Iowans that Trump is gay friendly.
Yeah, they call him a transgender trailblazer. They say,
dirty pool.
They have him standing in this rainbow rose garden here, and it is true. He was never a zealot.
Of that just the video from last week. The DeSantis War Room put out, spotlighting how, again, Trump's relatively positive record on LGBT issues, contrasting with Ron DeSantis not having those views.
Trump is certainly no actual hero on LGBTQ issues, but he is probably closer to the average.
Mail it to Briahna.
I saw this flyer and I thought, based Donald Trump, this is a ringing endorsement of him from someone like my perspective. But the reality is that he is not, he's not a hero for the gay rights movement or anything, but he is probably closer to where the average American is. And Ron DeSantis has aggressively overshot. That video was unhinged. It might appeal to a small fraction of the country, but he is presuming that he can grow his support beyond the 20-odd% that he has now by just talking increasingly loudly about how he doesn't like trans people. People can not like trans people all they want, but most folks in America don't even know a trans person and are not going to the polls on the basis of how cruel you are to a small and already marginalized community. Now, in this Politico piece, DeSantis' campaign spokesperson, Brian Griffin, says Ron DeSantis has been underestimated in every race that he's won, and this time will be no different. And I think what Donald Trump might say to this, because he said it many times before, is that when he was flagging in his gubernatorial race in Florida, it was only by the grace of Donald Trump and Donald Trump's endorsement that he, spiked in the polls and was able to win. And so the real question is, can DeSantis fly on his own accord, on his own gusto?
Well, okay, but in fairness to DeSantis, that was the first time around. In the re-election, DeSantis won decisively. Whole state shifted red at a time where, where Donald Trump's candidates were defeated, and we didn't. The Republicans didn't take back the Senate.
And this is his first race for president. So we're going to see what happens. The first time he's introducing himself to the American people is not going so well, just like the first time he tried to introduce himself to the people of Florida. And I imagine that if he had waited his turn, that's not something I generally advocate for in political context. I don't think that it's anybody's turn. But you can imagine a world where he waited until after Donald Trump won, stayed on his good side, and had a very different experience running. He's a young man.
If we're waiting till, what does he have, 50 years left in? Donald Trump is gonna, it could be deceased and in the ground and still be running for president for 20. His ghost will be seeking
we
this.
do have term limits, so presuming that Donald Trump is successful, and also he's like an 80-year-old man, but presuming that he actually ran and was successful in this upcoming election.
I think the idea that that he should wait, or what are you waiting for? The winds of fortune change. There could be some new hot, young, anti-woke Republican coming up some way. He can run even if he can lose the primary to Trump. Trump can lose the general, and he can run again in 4 years.
Yeah, this isn't, like I said, I preface this by saying I don't agree with people waiting their turn. Okay. However, doing as poorly as he's doing right now, it seems obvious to me that it would be difficult for him to do worse by maintaining his alliance with Donald Trump, given what Donald Trump has demonstrated he can do for Ron DeSantis in an electoral context. Right. Ron DeSantis, we predicted this early on, and many people thought that when he had the initial surge in polling that it was going to change. People thought that the indictments that Donald Trump has been collecting like infinity stones was going to change the scenario. And it's done quite the opposite. It has made people feel very defensive of Donald Trump, that he has been the victim of political persecution. It has reminded people why they liked him in the first place, as he defends himself in witty and charming ways. The indictments have absolutely helped Trump
in his quest to secure the Republican nomination, because he's clawed back the attention spotlight once again for himself. It's not going anywhere else, and those other candidates any other candidate, especially DeSantis, because he's the only one who even has a shot, need the attention, all oxygen being spent on Trump is wasted air from the standpoint of a DeSantis. Yeah. And so it's been a disaster and also because, and they're unwilling, except for like Christie and I guess maybe sort of Pence, they've kind of been unwilling to use that the way that in any other political context you would have used it, which is to say, my opponent can't be the nominee if he's going to freaking prison.
So conservatives win on the culture war issues only when they seem less crazy than the libs of TikTok, right? Yes. And when they seem less crazy than the most excessive overreaches of liberalism, the blue-haired, crazy, whatever you think.
For sure.
Ron DeSantis making his whole personality about being woke, anti-woke, and putting out insane, unhinged ads that look like they were made by a teenager in his mother's basement between episodes of sessions of Settlers of Catan is not making him look less crazy than the alternative.
Settlers
and Donald
of Catan
Trump
is a family game.
Donald Trump,
especially if you want to be very angry with your family afterwards.
If you're Donald Trump and you can be parodied as being both pro-LGBTQ and not a culture war zealot, like a libs of TikTok, indulgent human being, you're in the sweet spot of where most Americans are, even if it's to the right of where I might be in my personal cultural politics. And he is gonna. My prediction is that he's gonna win that game.
All right, more Rising right after this.